Yesterday we talked about relationships and what it means to work with a relationship to become conscious through it. And just to clarify any misconceptions about, we're talking about truth and marriages and so on. The implication is not that you have to be truthful with somebody who doesn't want to be truthful. The implication is that you are capable of being truthful. That's the important thing, that you could be truthful, not that you need to be. Doesn't mean you lie. It just means that you don't have to say it all unless the contract with another human being is that we will share truth. And some marriages are vehicles for awakening and some are not. Some are marriages that are going fine. They were based originally on passion or on psychological compatibility or on economic facility or cultural expectation. There are a number of reasons why people get married. And those motives come and go. Often the passion leaves and people don't quite know why they're married anymore. Now, some marriages are convertible into living truth and living spirit, and then the marriage becomes that aspect of your life which becomes your major vehicle for awakening. But it may not be. It may be a nice marriage and a comfortable marriage, and then your meditation becomes your major vehicle for awakening. And the marriage isn't that vehicle. Everything in your life ultimately will be affected and colored by your spiritual work. But you start out working with what is workable. You don't start out demanding that everything be used immediately, because it isn't all usable immediately. Ultimately, every tiny bit of your life is touched, but let it happen slowly and naturally and in its own time, rather than forcing it too quickly. Like what you eat, who you're with, how you spend your money, how you earn your money, what you wear, what you think about, where you go, why you go there, how you get there. All of these are aspects that can awaken or not. You may have a job that is that gives you livelihood, but it's a job among very unconscious beings, relatively unconscious beings, good beings, but relatively unconscious, in which you don't experience some support for that awakening. And you're ready, when you come into a satsang, into a community of more conscious beings, you're ready to say, well, I'm going to split my job because it's not conscious enough. But maybe that job at this time gives you the economic wherewithal to be able to do other kinds of work. And maybe what you need to do is learn how to use your weekends and your evenings and your early mornings. It isn't clear that you have to melodramatically shift your whole life plan just because you start to sense that there is awakening possible. In fact, let me caution you against the melodrama of the spiritual journey. We have an incredible capacity to romanticize our lives. You know, who will I marry? Who do I love? Who loves me? Am I happy? Am I getting enough? Oh, I'm dying too young. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And all this kind of romance about life. And we just buy it. And we are such tragic romantic figures, every one of us. You know, if only, if only, if only. And it's all so dramatic. And then suddenly we've awakened. And it's a whole new drama. And, oh, I've awakened. And you go tell all your friends, and I'm awakened, and you have a certain smile, and you're very romantic about your awakening. And you got to dramatically change everything. I don't do that anymore. I'm awakened. And you'll pay karmically for all your romanticism, I will tell you. Because the spiritual journey ultimately is really not very romantic at all. It's a very humdrum, just cleaning up your act, quieting down, not getting caught in the drama even of enlightenment. Even to be attached to getting enlightened turns out to be just another melodrama. Okay. So One doesn't have to make splashy, dramatic front-page changes in one's life in order to be awakening. You can do it just in the kind of stuff you've already got going. I've visited Ananda Ma many times in India. She's an absolutely beautiful woman saint. Just such an incredible being. And the times I visited her, each time she has been singing one song. She sings before a lot of people, just sitting up there singing, and they're all just kind of looking at her, and she talks to people and gets them fed and all that. But she just sort of sings, either as to a large group, or she's just sort of crooning it. And she's just singing to Bhagavan, to God. Jai Om Bhagavan. Jai Om Bhagwan, 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 Jai Jai Om Bhagwan, Jai Om Bhagwan, Jai Om Bhagwan. It's just such a sweet love song to God. And it's as if she's just whispering to a lover. And I have in my Dodge van a cruise control. Cruise control allows you to set a certain speed, and then the car just runs. So all you have to do is hold the steering wheel. And when I'm crossing the country, sometimes I'm sitting cross-legged in the driver's seat, and I'm just staring across the country. And I'm just day after day singing, Jai Om Bhagwan, Jai Om Bhagwan, Jai Om Bhagwan, Jai Om Bhagwan. And very slowly, those words, which are just words, and it's just a little tune, but the levels and the play and the feelings, until pretty soon you look at the gas station attendant as you stop every so many hours for gas, and you're inside, you Jai Om Bhagwan, and there's Bhagwan. And you're just taking the whole country, and it's the first time when I started to do those things with this cruise control, it was the first time I ran out of country before I got bored. You know, I got to the ocean too soon. I thought, oh, damn it, I'm here. You know, I just wanted more of it. Now, that's just a simple thing of driving to work. Now, is it driving to work, or is it doing your sadhana in which during your sadhana you happen to be moving from one space to another? I'm trying to give you a sense of the flow of spiritual work, that it doesn't have to be, I do spiritual work. It just sort of creeps into your life like fog creeping in on, you know, these silent fingers of stuff just creeping into the way in which you live your life. The kinds of things you want to read. It's like going from reading things that give you a rush or fascinate you or collect stuff to things that keep quieting your mind or simplifying your mind or tuning your mind. I work a great deal with the third Chinese patriarch. And it's a little thing called the Sin Sin Ming. Which means the Heart-Mind Sutra. And I just carry this little book with me all the time, and it's about 8 pages long. It's everything that he wrote. And there's enough work in here for me for this lifetime. Just these 2 lines. The great way, meaning coming into the flow of things, the harmony, coming into the universe. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. Okay? The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. Just look at your life and think of how many preferences you have. You prefer pleasure over pain? You prefer life over death? Prefer friends over aloneness? You prefer freedom over imprisonment? Where are your attachments? Where are your clingings? You prefer love over hate? Do you prefer any? Are you stuck in polarities is what it's asking. But make the smallest distinction, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. Slightest distinction and you already create hell. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. Boy, you ready to live by that? Do you realize how spacious you have to be to live by that kind of philosophy? That's the fiercest kind of philosophy that I can find. And I like to have that kind of fierce friend who hangs out with me, who keeps reminding me how much I have opinions. This should be this, and this should be this, and I want everybody to be this, and wouldn't it be better if this? Instead of just being spacious with it, you do what you do. It doesn't mean you don't have opinions. It means you're not attached to your opinions. It doesn't mean you don't have preferences. It means you're not attached to your preferences. You can prefer blue or green and decide, and when you go in, when there's a choice, you pick blue over green. But if you end up with green, so. Remember the so story? So story of the monk who lived in a monastery, and the local girl down in the village got pregnant by the fisherman. She didn't want to lay it on the fisherman, so she said it was the monk up in the monastery. So when the baby was born, the townspeople all took the baby up to the monastery, and they knocked on the gate, and the monk opened the door, and they said to the monk, "This is your baby, and you've got to raise the baby." And he said, so. And he took the baby and closed the gates. I mean, here's the guy's whole life just changed at that second. And his first reaction is, so. And 9 years later, the girl was dying, and she didn't want to die without admitting what had happened. And she said to the people, "Look, it really wasn't the monk, it was the fisherman." And they were horrified, and they went up to the monastery, and they knocked on the door. And he opened the gate, and there was this 9-year-old child next to him. And they said, "We've made a terrible mistake. This isn't your child, and from now on we'd like to help raise him, and you're free now to go back to your monastic life." So. He was so much right here that whatever new change comes in, so. How much are you ready to flow with life? And how much are you pressing against it? And that's the business of letting go of controls, letting go of models. The models you have of who you think you are keep entrapping. They keep entrapping me all the time. And they keep turning me off from the living space, the living truth that I can live in every second. This is part of what's called satsang or sangha. Satsang is the Sanskrit and sangha is the Buddhist term. This is being around the community of people who realize that there is an awakening. And you finally sort of want to hang out more and more with those beings. But maybe your job doesn't have those beings in it. And maybe your family doesn't have those beings in it. It's nice to have, get into a little ritual or regimen so that every morning, for example, you get up and before the game gets going in life, so it gets so locked in, you start with some quieting down. You start with some meditation. You start with a reading, just one little reading. And try, I just have usually a puja space, a little space where I have some holy pictures. I have Anandamayi Ma, and I have Christ, and I have Buddha, and I have Maharaji, and just a few old buddies and friends I hang out with. And I just have them there, and I light a candle, and I light a little incense in the morning, and I sit down there. And then next to me, I have just a few books. The Ramayana, and I have Lao Tzu, and the Third Patriarch, and this and that, maybe 5 or 6 books. And I'll sit quietly for a little while, and I'll look at the pictures and say good morning to all these beings, and just kind of open my heart to that space, kind of feel their lives. And then I might just pick up one of these books and read maybe just a few lines. Sit down, sort of think about it for a little while, and then maybe meditate for 15 or 20 minutes. And as simple as that, and I'm just ready to face a day. And that begins me on the right track. And then during the day, I may use a dozen or 100 different techniques. If I'm driving, I may be singing Jai Om Bhagwan. I may be working with my beads and doing Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. I mean, you sit in the subway, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai. And pretty soon, all of the forms you're seeing and all the discomforts of your body and all of it is as if it's coming out of the mantra. And the mantra becomes the figure and the life experiences become the background, as opposed to the life experiences being the figure and the spiritual practices becoming the background. Just a simple transformation.